Morning, everyone. Shivali Mathur from Base Heat Networks. Um, and as we heard before, I think on we go, and it's a good opportunity to meet everyone virtually, remotely, through webinar. In 2019, the UK government set a legally binding target to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions from across the UK economy by 2050. And to meet our net zero emissions target by 2050, we need to decarbonize virtually all of our building stock by making the buildings more energy efficient and installing low carbon heating systems. There are around 30 million buildings in the UK, responsible for 30% of our national emissions. And government is committed to delivering 300,000 new homes each year from the mid-2020s. 20% of the UK homes are still to be built, and new build have a vital role to play to add to the scale of the challenge. And I think we can all echo here the supply chain for key technologies are growing, but they still remain at an early stage of development. The Heating and Building Strategy document got published just before COP26 last year. The document builds up on Prime Minister's 10-point plan and the Energy White Paper announced in 2020 to provide a clear direction of travel for the 2020s, demonstrating how we will meet our carbon targets, ensure that we are on track on net zero, rapidly supporting jobs, and leveling up. The Heat and Building Strategy represents a step change in the UK's ambition for decarbonizing buildings through a range of measures. And I'll just highlight three of them. Improve the energy performance of buildings, making them warmer, more comfortable, and cheaper to heat. Reducing costs, and implementing key enabling policies to make the transition affordable and attractive to all. And thirdly, creating the conditions for major investment by providing long-term signals. It does set out a clear role for heat networks, and I've taken a quotation with reference to geothermal as well. To transform the national heating system, we need to replace many of the existing sources of heat with a variety of energy-efficient, low-carbon technologies. We see heat pumps, heat networks, and hydrogen as potentially playing a pivotal role in decarbonizing heat. But we recognize that other technologies such as bioenergy, geothermal heat, storage heaters may be more viable alternative in some cases. So leading up to COP26, we also published last year a comprehensive net zero strategy, which was a document aiming to set out government's vision for transitioning to a net zero economy and making the most of new growth and employment opportunities across the UK. We hope that this strategy, along with the other documents that were released last year, will help to raise UK and global ambition to tackle climate change by decarbonizing buildings. A very quick overview on some of the other activities which happened specifically around geothermal was last year was Mind Energy White Paper, which came out in 2021 around May time. It provided recommendations for Mind Energy. The forward was provided by Minister. It set out clear recommendations, barriers, and opportunities. Under the energy strategy, the government of Northern Ireland has established a geothermal advisory committee to provide advice and guidance on the availability of geothermal energy to heat our buildings. The Geological Survey of Northern Ireland, which is an office of Department of Economy in Northern Ireland, staffed by scientists of the BGS who are supporting the event or co-hosting the event, have also worked alongside the strategy, which to find ways to help developers and planners to determine a location suitable for geothermal heating and cooling. A roundtable on geothermal energy was held on 14th of September 2021, where a group of MPs and relevant industry stakeholders were invited to discuss the use of geothermal energy as a heat source. This was attended by Minister of State for Energy and Lord Callanan, who is the Parliamentary Under Secretary of State, BASE. It was a positive meeting where the potential for geothermal energy was discussed, and it was agreed that the conversation will continue at the official level. And BASE is working with the industry with the industry at the minute. Another another important factor for last year was the end of non-domestic RHI, renewable heat incentive last year, which was open for deep geothermal applications. So why heat networks? Heat networks take heat or cooling from a central source and deliver it to a variety of different customers, such as public buildings, shops, offices, hospitals, universities, and homes. They have the potential to reduce bills, support local regeneration, and be a cost-effective way of reducing carbon emissions from heating. Heat networks can unlock otherwise inaccessible, large-scale, renewable, and recovered heat sources, such as waste heat from industry, heat from rivers and mines, as well as provide cooling in a changing climate. Needless to say, geothermal power is a key part of the heat sources as well. They can interact with the energy system more effectively than building level solutions through load shifting, demand side response, and economies of scale. Currently, there are approximately 14,000 heat networks in UK, 12,000 communal and 2,000 district heat networks approximately, which covers 2 to 3% of annual UK heat demand. Scenarios in Clean Growth Strategy suggest that heat networks could provide 17 to 24% of UK's heat demand by 2050. From an investment potential perspective, it represents between 13 to 22 billion pounds potential by 2050 and is considered the biggest heat network investment opportunity in Europe. We are committed to continuing the growth of the UK heat network market and will transform the market over the next decade through our Heat Network Transformation Program. As part of the program, in 2013, we had set up a Heat Network Delivery Unit, which supports the local authorities in England and Wales through early stages of heat network project development, be it master planning, feasibility studies, or detailed project development studies. We have given out a total of £23 million plus in grants through H&DU. From 2017, we had a heat network investment project, which offered gap funding to heat network projects in commercialization and construction funding and accelerating market growth. In March 2020 budget, the Chancellor announced funding for the creation of Green Heat Network Fund, which is a targeted successor of Heat Network Investment Project. Now, the Green Heat Network Fund is intended to facilitate the transition towards low carbon heat generation in heat networks across England. The fund opened last week, providing a further funding of £338 million to Heat Network Transformation Program. We had also launched a Green Heat Network Fund Transition Scheme on 21st June last year. The purpose of this scheme was to better ensure that low carbon heat network projects are construction ready, then to apply for the full scheme, which was launched last week. Support via Green Heat Network Fund would incentivize the heat networks to move away from fossil fuel heat sources and help achieve the target of net zero carbon emissions in UK by 2050. The funding is planned to be available to a range of technologies that facilitate decarbonization, including large heat pumps, solar thermal, waste heat recovery systems, where it complies with the local air quality limits. It supports heat sources like geothermal. Zoning. The Energy White Paper which came out in 2020, December 2020, committed to introducing heat network zoning by 2025 at the latest. We stated in our 2020 consultation called Heat Networks, Building the Market Framework, that we will trial heat network zoning. And since then, we have launched Cities Decarbonization project to look at how the heating systems of 6 cities across England could be decarbonized. We agree with the industry and the local authorities that zoning can play a significant role in growing the sector by reducing the risk, ensuring the investment, and increasing the speed of the deployment. We've also had launched last year Heat Network Efficiency Scheme Demonstrator, which supports the objectives of achieving fuel and carbon savings in existing networks, improve the customer outcomes in existing networks. Very quickly on the opportunity areas, this was another document which was published last year, published on 7th of September 2021. The study identifies the opportunity for low carbon heat network deployment across the country as a whole, and separately for England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. It's the detailed maps showing the spatial distribution and density of supply and demand across UK and each nation separately. So if I quickly go through the figures which are in front of you on the slide, the first one from the left shows the UK annual heat demand density. The second one shows the UK annual cooling demand density. The third one from the left is UK heat supply density, which is location-specific sources. And the one on the right, on the far right, is UK areas with potential for economically viable heat networks. And I don't know how clear these maps are, but I'm more than happy to share later on the link to the report. And you can see that the heating and cooling demand maps are strongly correlate with the population density around the urban centers, as well as heat supply in there are more rural in areas that are more rural, such as thermal power stations and incinerators. Really quickly in Beehive, we understand that market growth can require significant private capital. Beehive is a dynamic purchasing system, which is PCR compliant procurement platform. It aims to support the delivery of a self-sustaining heat network market. It is an efficient way that public sector heat network owners, developers in England and Wales, which they can procure asset finance, equity investment, and equity investment related services for their heat network projects. A growing pipeline. So at BEIS, we bring together all the opportunities together in this publication. The heat network investment opportunities in England and Wales. The opportunities present a wide range of projects through the development stages by HNDU, the projects seeking capital support from HNEP, the Heat Network Investment Project, and the applications which are for the projects which are applied to Green Heat Network Fund projects. If you just look at, so we publish this pipeline of projects quarterly. If we zoom into 2021 Q3, there was an active pipeline of 1.5 billion, out of which 619 million related to the funding HNIP projects. You can see the division across. More than happy to share the links later on as well. Conscious of time, government supports the growth of UK heat networks market as a crucial part of UK's heat decarbonisation strategy. Providing accurate information on the market and signposting upcoming projects to investors is essential for developers and other partners within the heat network supply chain. So this heat network planning database, which was also launched last year, provides a picture of both district and communal heat network deployment across the UK, and it enables increased pipeline visibility of projects in the planning stage, especially those that have not received the government funding, insight into the deployment of different technology types, air source heat pumps, biomass, energy from waste, gas boilers, ground source heat pumps, and it has greater clarity over upcoming projects and emerging trends. If you have any information about a heat network scheme post Q4, quarter 4 from 2020, and it's not included in the database, or you spot any inaccuracies or have any feedback, please feel free to email us at hnpd.enquiries@beis.gov.uk. Thank you.